How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, this is a popcorn video. It's long, kick back, and I got a lot of things that I'm going to cover about retrograde. And a few people been asking me about it because I talk about it frequently, and we are coming to a end of the retrograde phase. And what I want to say is, and one more thing. First thing, I got a bonus video with a lot of truth and fire on it. Okay? So, save the best for last. I want to overemphasize my royal family that, and this is pertaining to the bonus video. The first, and we already know, scientists, astrologers, we are the first of everything. And one of the first things that the enemy took from us is our science and how could I put it? They act like they are the authority on everything. And also, in conjunction with science, they took our astrology. And a lot of us have a lot of myths when we talk about astrology and people's signs. Well, what the enemy did is like what they did when they came in to, so to speak, unquote, mess with our spirituality, and then in turn turned it over to religion. We are Hebrew Israelites. We are not a religion. Religion is man-made. So anytime man put their hand in anything, they're going to taint it. Now, based on my research, when the enemy was in the process of desecrating the word, show you how non-progressive they truly is, it took them over 800 years. And to show you how deep our Father truly is and continue to be, is that while they were in the process of desecrating our word, they read it for themselves, that our Father let them know, we knew you were going to desecrate our word. Could you imagine that? I write a book 100 years ago, and you get a hand on this book that I wrote, but you're going to rewrite it. And one day you open up a particular page and I got your whole name in there saying, I knew that you was going to come on this particular day to desecrate this beautiful divine book that I put for my people, so they can know about their spirituality, know about their science and everything. I have been told that, and we'll never get the true accurate number. A lot of us know that in the Vatican they have over 50 plus miles of our biblical texts, artifacts, and all kind of stuff that pertains to us. And if I'm correct, I know you're listening to this video, Lisa Cabrera, I think she said it was like over 700,000 things that we have put together when it's based on our spirituality that has been taken from us. So a lot of us, when it comes to the things that I'm going to get into, because I'm going to talk about astrology and the signs, but I want y'all to be clear, because some people don't listen to you when you do these videos. I do not believe everything that I read. I don't. But I can read in between the lines like many of us can do. Because since I've came to YouTube, y'all have enlightened me and have taught me many things. It has nothing to do with I individually have a channel. We are all the voice. We are the true royal family. So as we continue on my royal family, we're going to get into this Mercury in retrograde. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read about some of this, but I'm going to skip through some of these things because it just a bunch of gobbledygook. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from my my laptop because it's a little bit easier, but the links from everything that I'm going to read today, you will have all the links where you can do deeper research. So they said, what is Mercury retrograde? Basically, you hear this expression a lot in astrological circles. It's even made its way into the mainstream public, perhaps more than any other technical term from the field of astrology. When things seem crazy, I get lots of phone calls asking me if Mercury is retrograde, and often it is paying attention to Mercury retrograde can save you from headaches and costly mistakes. Now, I get a lot of emails too, because folks be asking me, is True Roy, is it that time? So Mercury in retrograde can literally be translated as think back. It presents us with the opportunity to reflect and review, to revisit issues about which we thought we had made up our mind. It's an ideal time to finish unfinished business like paperwork that's being seated around a while, or photos that need to go into albums or onto discs. We often end up redoing something that wasn't done right the first time. Unfortunately, it's also a time when we're more likely to make mistakes. Oh yes, redoing things later, maybe during the next Mercury retrograde. So, let's see here. Let me skip through some of this stuff. Let's see here. So let me continue on. Now, some of these things in here I'm reading, I'm going to point out that they are wrong too, as well. So, as the planets closest to the sun, Mercury orbits is the quickest. It circles the sun about 3 times in one Earth year, passing us about 3 times each year. Each time it passes us, it appears to move backward for about 3 weeks, for 2 to 3 weeks before, and after this backward step, it moves forward through the section of the zodiacs where the backtracking occurs. Thus, it transverses this area 3 times forward and back and backward and forward. Okay. So, now we're going to get in. They said Mercury retrograde can sneak up on us quickly, just as we're catching our breath from one retrograde period. Mercury is getting ready to enter another one. That's why it is a good idea to keep an eye on when the shadow period will begin from the next one. Now, when they're talking about this shadow stuff, I'm going off of this calendar. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind that this calendar that we are using, this is the enemy's calendar. And with me studying this, and I've been knowing about retrograde, I think around about the age of 9. And my father was really deep into this. And my father was a person that did people's charts and a lot of things. So I'm not saying I have the greatest knowledge of this, but being around it, you will pick up things. And once my father passed, because he would always remind me about retrograde, I plunged in it and started studying. And so retrograde goes into 3 phases. Now, they'll call it shadow. And when you look here, retrograde, and these are not accurate, my royal family, which you are looking at. It started in October and it ends in December. So remember, because they'll either use so you got pre-retrograde, that's a staging phase. Then you have retrograde, that's like when it hits the nucleus. And then you have a post retrograde, or they will use pre-shadow, pre-post. It's all one in the same. But what I have learned doing my deep studying is that even during the pre, and then even as it's descending, retrograde packs a punch. But the enemy is telling us that retrograde only lasts for 3 weeks. It's staged for 3 weeks. It hits direct for 3 weeks. And then it even descends for 3 weeks. And we are feeling the magnetic forces of retrograde. This is something not to play with. Stop listening to what the enemy is talking about. This is our stuff. This is our science. They always bastardize and shit, and it pisses me off. So as we continue on, my royal family, what do we experience when Mercury is retrograde? There's more phone tags when Mercury retrograde. More items get lost in the mail. It's a good idea to double check instructions you're given or receiving to make sure everyone is on the same page. Proofread documents before you release them at least one time, if not more. Watch out for transpositions in writing or in calculations, such as your checkbook. You might be more likely to forget to record debit or ATM transactions too, and it is important to actually read the fine print. Again, to read the fine print before signing contracts. Many people try to avoid signing contracts altogether during Mercury retrograde. Don't make no big purchases. I have told my sweet dear husband not to do it, and he have bought a few cars used cars, unquote, during Mercury retrograde. Go bad always, and it's always in the extreme. As we can continue on, anything dealing with retrograde. Okay, decisions we make during Mercury retrograde can lead us to later ask ourselves, what was I thinking? Many people experience the problem of open mouth, insert foot. Often we have the I should have said regrets after a conversation, particularly a heated one. Just in case things don't go as expected, it is smart to have a plan B ready, but on the lookout. Okay, now remember, I want y'all to remember this. Retrograde profoundly affects the government and profoundly affects people in a leadership position. And I predicted 2 years ago that Trump was going to go through many things through the retrograde phase. And isn't it ironic that that this impeachment process is during the retrograde phase? And there's issues with communication, decision making. This is major. And also I wanted to point out, when they really try to encourage people not to make long distance trips. And I was saying to Lisa Cabrera that when Trump went over there, for the NATO stuff, I said to her that very day, he gonna pull some type of stunt and stuff. Look at what he did. And things do happen during the retrograde phase abruptly. You'll see this boof accidents, and it's very freaky in nature. And I will show video clippings of almost everything that I'm talking about. Remember, again, retrograde is extreme in nature, but it's not to be feared, and I will get into that. So the other things that retrograde increases the likelihood of traffic problems. Allow extra time to get to where you're going. Always keep an eye on your auto's conditions. If you suspect a problem, try to get it taken care of before Mercury rears the shadow date range. Schedule regular maintenance away from the retrograde time frames. Because when people are fixing stuff, they can make mistakes too. When Mercury is moving forward, that's the time for smooth sailing. But if you do spot trouble, don't delay getting it fixed. Just because Mercury is retrograde, that could mean more trouble, like a breakdown. Okay. Concerns about health. Mercury is affiliated with breathing, the nose, mouth, and lungs, as thus airborne illnesses. Fresh air is a must during Mercury retrograde, and controlling breathing helps under the pressure of stress. Mercury governs all the senses. Again, Mercury governs all the senses. Some people experience temporary difficulties with one or another of them during Mercury retrograde period. Mercury also rules the hands. Wash them frequently when in contact with the public. And do you know, I had strep throat for 3 days, but I would not let it overtake me because I've had it before many years in my life, and I didn't know how to take care of myself then. And I've been drinking a tea called sour sap tea. I drank that tea for 3 days straight, twice a day. And you know, if anybody have had strep throat, it hurt. My ear hurt. It hurt to swallow and everything. So take care of your immediate situation. Let's see here. So let me see if there's any thing to read. Okay, yeah, they're just talking about how Mercury affects communication. Okay. Let me see if that's it. Let me see. Let me check everything here. Okay, so that's the end of that so far, my royal family. And now we are going to get into, now this is what I read from, y'all will have that. So now we're going to listen to this first video. It's almost 3 minutes. Mercury retrograde. What it says here, what it is and how it affects you.
Social media pages have been full of tweets and posts of people talking about the Mercury retrograde. They're saying all these wacky things are happening because of it. But what even is a retrograde?
It has to do with the orbital relationships between the Earth, Mercury, and the Sun, such that from our position on Earth, it looks like the planet is moving in reverse direction through the sky for a period of time.
It's sort of like when you're on a highway and driving past another car. If you're driving fast enough, it kind of looks like the car next to you is driving backwards. All right, now I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do with me? Well, astrology is the study of how stars and planets affect humans. So when something like this happens, astrologers take notice.
When we see a planet being retrograde, we look at that as meaning that there's some kind of inner review taking place.
It's really just an opportunity to revise, edit, and then push on. So it's a great time to look for lost items. It's a great time to reconnect with old friends.
And with this time of reflection can come some obstacles.
When it's going backwards, it's going to affect anything that you can associate with communication, but also, as an extension of that, it affects things like technology and even travel.
Communication breakdowns, transportation breakdowns. You have those days where it's like one thing after another, you know, things breaking down or not going the way that you intended them to go.
But Mercury isn't the only planet that retrogrades. They all do. So why do we make such a big deal about this one? Well, this retrograde happens pretty frequently, about 4 times a year. Here's the thing. The world will not end every time Mercury retrogrades, or any other planet for that matter. And whether you believe in astrology or not, there are some lessons you can learn during this astrological time.
No one is out here saying like Mercury is retrograde, therefore this will happen. You know what I mean? That's like saying it's raining, therefore you will have a baby today. That doesn't happen. But people are like, it's raining, so maybe you should take an umbrella.
So as the retrograde continues, stay observant. You never know what could happen.
Okay, my royal family, let's make sure. We don't get no pop-ups, and let's. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so 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 let freeze that as we continue on. So, according here to this calendar, retrograde ends around December 7th. Okay. And let's go up here and click this on. And this is the last retrograde of the year. So according to the enemy's calendar, retrograde started on the 31st, and they are claiming that it ends on the 19th. And again, let me go back. I want y'all to keep this in mind, my royal family. What you're looking at around it begins around this time, which that's the staging, and then in the red, that's when it hits mainly the full effects of it, and then it descends. But all of it is strong. I'm overemphasizing things. This is just a guideline. I don't believe everything that the enemy tells us because they stole it from us. So, retrograde, when things kicked in, it was in Scorpio, and that happens to be my sign. Much love and respect to the Scorpions out there. My royal day is November 3rd, and I thank my mother, Barbara Ann Newman, birthing me. Okay, let's see here. So, the last phase of Mercury retrograde 2019 occurs in the zodiac sign of Scorpio, a water sign. This would bring about turmoils of emotions around this time. Scorpios are known for being secretive. Scorpio has a tendency to control things. With the Mercury retrograde happening here, the cause of reason is left to the wind. Scorpios start to question everything. Suddenly things seem to be quite complex, and a sense of uncertainty looms around this Mercury retrograde period. The inborn nature of Scorpions' feelings of suspicions and insecurities now comes to fore. Things that you have not dealt with till date in life now surfaces from nowhere. Remember, I said things happen abruptly. This is a good time to bank on your intuition, remove self-doubt, and get out of troubled situations with self-effort. In a nutshell, through these Mercury retrograde might annoy you, it will not alienate you. Instead, it makes you stronger by the day. Yeah, there was some stuff that was going on that happened on my channel that was very disrespectful, and I'm not going to give up any names, but it was an exchange from one person pretty much, and they wanted to continue to drag it on and pull me in it. And I know how it was going to be. It was going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the one thing that I try to avoid on my channel, because I have had my stumbles and falls, is that I don't like drama on my channel. And I start with me, have no right to redirect energy. Y'all come here to watch these videos, which I thank everyone for their support. And sometimes YouTubers are having drama with each other, or just maybe be having drama with somebody that support their channel, and then that energy is redirected, and then you have lost sight of your channel. You know, we are supposed to, like Lisa Cabrera gave me the best advice ever, focus on your content. But that does not mean I'm not afraid to bring it if somebody fuck with me too. But try to lessen those type of things. I'm talking to people who have channels too, or just in life in general. So when you do gotta go there, people will listen to you because you're not a drama king or queen. So anyways, we continue on. Be prepared to face unjust, immoral things around that might break social rules during this Mercury retrograde. Make peace with yourself and those around. Do note that certain secretive things of Scorpion nature would see the light these days. So, and these planets do affect us. Okay, they just talking about what these planets are doing as they're moving to and how it affects retrograde. And let me see, is there anything else that I want to talk about on that? Let's see here. Okay, I guess this is necessary. As Mercury goes retrograde in October 2019, it would be in conjunction with the planets Venus and Jupiter in Scorpio. And towards the end of November, Mercury will be in conjunction with Mars in the zodiac house of Libra. Native borns under the ascendant or moon sign of Aries, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Sagittarius would have financial issues of sorts. See, all that stuff I don't get into. As Mercury is in close quarters with the luminary sun, it gets in the combustions. Damn, I can't pronounce that as well. Hence, be cautious. This might bring about these rifts. That's what I'm talking about. And so I try my best to avoid confrontation. So let me put this calendar back, because I'm going to be referring back to this calendar quite frequently as we continue on. Now, I said a while back that I noticed that every retrograde so far that I have paid attention to, there is always a bridge accident, a bridge collapse, and it's astounding. I've been paying a lot of attention to it because they say Mercury in retrograde affects communication. So you can imagine when we didn't have phones and all this stuff, and you're trying to communicate for somebody across the unquote pond, putting that bridge will bring everything together where you can go across and communicate. So let's see this here. So they had a collapse of a bridge, and wanted to show, maybe it's in the news part of it. Let's see, I think it's this one. Let's see, I think it's this one I wanted to show y'all. That one? No, forgive me. That is not the one. Let's see. I think it's this one. They had a little video associated with it. Oh yes, here it is. Is this the one right here? Let me make sure. Let me make sure this is the one. Let's see. Oh no, that's the one that they blew up. That was nice to look at. An implosion. All right, that wasn't the one, but it was nice to look at the implosion. Damn it, come on. I had everything lined up. Now I'm thrown off. Let me get my stuff together. Where are you, true royal? All right. Thank you for y'all patience, family. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Is that the one? Damn it. Come on, man. I'm all messed up right now. What's really going on with you, girlfriend? You can't seem to get it together. Where the hell is that video at? Man. Don't get frustrated. You telling people don't get all upset now. It's hitting your ass. So you're going to have to deal with it, girlfriend. Okay, let's see here. So that one collapsed. That one. Oh. Okay, then you had this major one. And they've been having a few bridges over there in the UK. Shit is corroding and coming down. They ain't been doing no maintenance on it and all that crap and stuff. They just been BSing around. Let's see, this was the French one. Okay. And let me see here. Let me check the image, because I think that's how I went by finding that particular one. And I'll be damned, I done lost my way. Because I remember seeing these dudes on the boat. Was this the one? I think this might be the one, family. If not, I'm going to continue to move on. Yeah, these pictures are very familiar. And I had a video that I wanted to present to y'all with this. One last look, and if that, we're going to keep it moving. And forgive me for losing my way, because I am much better prepared than that. So that was in Taiwan. Okay, that's one here. And when I went into the news, they were showing this one here. And let's see what's really going on, girl. Ain't that frustrating when you think you got your shit together and then you lose your way? So anyhow, my royal family, one last try. All right, family. I lost my way. So anyhow, they did have a bridge accident over in France, and a 15-year-old girl and truck driver were killed when a suspension bridge collapsed in the southeastern France. 2 vehicles fell in the river. I was just trying to prove to y'all that that there's always, that's quite phenomenal that they have bridges collapse during that phase. So, show you how messed up I am. Couldn't get it together. So, y'all see it from here, and as we continue on. So, I put down here major power outage around the world in November 2019. And let's not lose sight that on the enemy's calendar and how they calculating things, retrograde ended on what they gonna say, the 30th of November. That's what they telling us. Okay, that's when it end. All right. Please. No. The 30th. Yeah, that's what they're. No, wait a minute. Slow down, Kim. They're saying that it ended. I think they were saying either it. One of them I read, they said that it ended October 30th, and in another one I read, it said it ended November 20th. So again, it's all in full effect during the whole time. So every retrograde, there is a power outage, and it's always, again, in extreme in nature. Okay, let's get through this little advertisement.
As many of you know, we're battling a number of high-profile fires in this state, but many of you may not be aware that we have put down over 330 fires just in the last 20 hours. Those 330 fires directly touched our statewide operations here, not only at the Operation Center, but the work that Tom Porter, Chief Porter, and his team at CAL FIRE have suppressed. I put that to put this moment in perspective. I recognize this moment generates tremendous amount of anxiety. The high-profile images that people see, not only in the Kincaid Fire in Northern California, but now at the Getty Fire in Southern California and Los Angeles, generate consternation, generate concern. But this, interestingly, is a moment in California that is very familiar. We've actually had a below-average fire season to date. What we're experiencing at the moment is slightly above average. It's a high end of average for this time of year. It doesn't feel that way, but it, in fact, is the case. This state has been well resourced. The state has been very forthright in terms of pre-positioning assets to a degree that we had never have in the past. We've been able to put down some other high-profile fires, 2 in San Diego, a number of them in Southern California, specifically in Los Angeles, and over the last 24 hours throughout the Bay Area and parts of Northern California. I just want to say that to make this point. I could not be more proud of the men and women in uniform, folks not only working CAL FIRE, CHP, the Office of Emergency Services, our health and human service agencies, but also local law enforcement, local sheriffs, local police, people from all walks of life, community leaders, volunteers that have stepped up in remarkable ways. And while we've had an evacuation in Northern California that includes roughly 180,000 people, I've had the opportunity to travel to the evacuation centers, to the shelters, and I've seen firsthand, I've witnessed the extraordinary collaborative effort that has been, I think, handled remarkably well. None of this is perfect, but I think the work that has been done in anticipation of this moment is paying real dividends. The backdrop, however, of this moment is exacerbated by these power shutoffs. Roughly 880,000 customers continue to be shut off. That said, we received from Pacific Gas and Electric, our northern most IOU, investor-owned utility. They have provided that all clear for all counties as early as 6 a.m. this morning. As you know, even after we get the all clear, we've got to go out and physically investigate these transmission and distribution lines. Rather than just relying on the assets and resources of Pacific Gas and Electric, the state has supplemented those resources with the California Highway Patrol and fixed-wing aircraft that was allowed to go by utilization of infrared technology and get up and move very expeditiously. Accordingly, we've used the National Guard and similar technology that is attached to their number of helicopters that we've provided as resource supplement to Pacific Gas and Electric. They've gone through the first phase of their investigations on the transmission lines. Now they're moving to the distribution lines to begin the process of re-energization over the course of the next number of hours, and we hope within the next 48 hours, 2 days, where that will be substantially complete. And I want to parse that by making the point substantially. There's no guarantees that all of that will be complete. You can caucus with PG&E directly about their procedures and protocols because, as you know, we're entering back into wind events later in the middle part of this week, and these things may actually coincide, and there may be some crossover related to that.
All right, my royal family. So Gavin Newsom going on and on and on, and those numbers are wrong. We were affected up too as well here where I live about the power outage. Our power was out for 3 days, and that was major. Even though that was man actually shutting it off, but due to these fires that we have been seeing literally around the world, but California is burning down. You heard what Gavin Newsom said. They put out over 300 fires. So when Esau is speaking, they are lying. So they always under-report. I bet you it was like 500 fires. You know, I mean, that cave fire, was that the cave fire that they said? No, it was another fire. I think they said, only 4,000 acres burnt. You lying. But remember what I said when I did one of those videos about fires, that Yahweh told me that he is going to keep Esau restless. They're going to be trying to control all kind of stuff, dealing with these unquote natural disasters, dealing with, extreme weathers, things in extreme. But most of what I was just pointing out was that how power is affected. Now, this video here is what the next video I'm going to show is quite juicy to me. So as we get into this, my royal family, we're dealing with some more power outage. All right. And this happened at a football game. Okay. So either it happened on the 28th. Let me see. That was on a Thursday. So let me see here. Let me look back on the calendar. Let's see. Let's see here, on a Thursday. Okay, so on November 28th, on a Thursday, now retrograde is supposed to be over with according to the enemy in the enemy's calendar. Now I said this in yellow, that's the phase where it is descending, but it still packs a punch. I love this video. This shit tickles me.
So Guru Nanak at the end of Japji Sahib says, Pavan Guru Bani Pita Mata Tart Mahat.
And now the tradition continues. To culminate the Lions Huddle for 100 volunteer initiative, we welcome you to the 80th Thanksgiving Day Classic halftime show in partnership with Feeding.
Let's freeze there for a minute, my royal family. What number do you see that we've been seeing quite frequently? I see 17. This is the first time I've seen it. I seen a part of this video, but that's the first time I've seen 17. Overcoming the enemy in a complete victory. And we see 11. Chaos, disorder, and judgment. I gotta study 10.
America. Here's Grammy-nominated, 3-time CMA Vocal Duo of the Year, Brothers Osborne.
Here's something.
Well, obviously, we've had a power hit here in Detroit. Just a few notes into the Brothers Osborne here at halftime. And we have to figure out if we're going to send it back to New York, if we are going to stay here, if they're able to restore power here at Ford Field to the stage. Obviously, power exists all around. There it is. Yes. All right. Enjoy it. We'll get it figured out. crowd almost willing this to happen. We're told momentarily. I don't know if they know we can hear it as well as we can. Troy, run down there and tell them to start, man. I'll get right on it. I think there's a lot of people telling about all they want to know. Well, you want to go back and talk about the first half? I don't know. You got anything left on David Blau? I'm tapped. Nope, we'll just watch and see what happens in the second half. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Third time's a charm.
Their power went out. They was feeling some kind of way. Ain't that funny, my royal family? Now, you know, Esau, they expect everything to work. You know, everything got to be instant in their world, you know, and they feel some kind of way when things like that happen.
Great family.
Oh,
and
Lord.
For having
Let's see what's
made
going
a
on.
tremendous difference in this
Oh,
country.
hell no. I don't talk to you, Trump. You ain't doing shit but being shitty like you always is. Now, let's just keep going on, my royal family. I was just loving that with that power outage. Let's see. Was it? Oh, it's this one over here. Let me go back on that real quick. Put it back on that page. Let's see. Is it going to pop back up? There it is. Is that it? Yeah. Freeze that joker. All right. So, we seen that they was affected. They call it a mishap. That is the divine hand. Shh. Judgment. So I have a little bit of something here. Now what we're going to get into, my royal family, I wanted to see, I wanted to get a little bit deeper. Oops. Before that, oops. Hold up. One more thing before I get deeper into it. Freak car accidents. And what's her name? Lola Red. She was in a car accident and it was bad. And we need to continue to keep our queen in prayer and also keep Brenda Hill, one of her family members, and I don't want to mess it up, Brenda, is in the hospital, and keep that family member in prayer too as well. Now, I had said one of the retrograde videos I did is that my daughter's father was in a major car accident. Thank goodness he did not get hurt, and his car was upside down. I seen the picture. In fact, my oldest son was in a car accident last week down here in LA, and some woman hit him out of nowhere and stuff. So you'll see, you know, we always see car accidents, but during the retrograde, it's always a freak car accident. And another thing, when during the retrograde phase, pay real close attention to language. People will be like enormous, bizarre, out of nowhere, those type of things. So I'll just show this one here.
About a deadly accident involving a car that flew into the second floor of an office building in Toms River. 2 people were killed. CBS in New York's Dave Carlin reports.
Firefighters and other responders pushed out bricks to widen an opening left by an out-of-control sports car that crashed through the building's second-story exterior wall, landing upside down.
How? That's all I kept saying is how? How did this happen?
Killed in the car were 2 men, both of Toms River, 23-year-old Daniel Foley and 22-year-old Braden DeMartin. Police say DeMartin was driving with Foley in the passenger seat, northbound on Hooper Avenue at an extremely high rate of speed. Skid marks show where the Porsche crossed over the southbound lanes, bouncing as it hit a ditch leading up to the 2-story building at 1466 Hooper, where signs out front advertise a real estate firm and a counseling services company, among others.
Oops, let me go back there just slightly. Let's go back. Okay. 6 plus 6 plus 4 plus 1. What does that equal, my royal family? 17. Overcoming the enemy and a complete victory.
Among others.
The skid marks are real close together, and then over here they're wider, so it must have been on its side. Hit the curb, started tumbling, and then hit the gully and launched them up into the inside.
It was around 6:30 Sunday morning when the car and bodies were found. Around noon is when a crane lifted the car out. As it was towed away, investigators remained on the scene for several more hours. The pair of officers you see now taking measurements of the dirt pile that appeared to serve as a launching pad that took that car airborne and into the second story.
Really breaks your heart.
Among the people gathering to watch the car's extraction from the building were friends of the victims.
Same intermediate, same high school.
That's Angel Torres, a former classmate of DeMartin.
I definitely know him, great kid.
Thank God for our community. You know, we all get together.
Residents say this tight-knit community will rally to support victims' families and react to this tragedy with a message to all to drive carefully and responsibly. In Toms River, New Jersey, Dave Carl.
Now you see that was in freak in nature. That ain't no normal car accident where it flew into a building, on top of that landed upside down. You know, we didn't heard of cars going into buildings, but at the rate and the velocity of speed, and then it flipped upside down. Woo! So as we continue on, now I wanted to get into the effects. How is Trump being affected by retrograde? So I have a snippet of something to read here, and so that's where I had it wrong at. So in this article, they are saying that basically that retrograde begins on October 31st. Okay. And yeah, around that time, it does hit direct. It does. But they won't acknowledge when it's staged and when it ends. And that's not respecting our Father and the universe. So what I wanted to read here, just a snippet of this, and I have something much longer to read. So when they basically was saying, beginning with misunderstandings and communication, the events which have long been associated with professional, financial, and logistical chaos in astrology circles, is blamed for everything from missed flights and crash computers to workplace tension and broken household appliances. This happens a lot here in this individual household. I remember prior to this retrograde, all 3 of my vacuum cleaners were broke. I was talking to Lisa on the phone. I cut on my fan. Zip, it went out. That's what it is. Even this year, Lisa, during the peak of when where she lives out at the state she lives in, that the weather was at extreme, her furnace went out. And remember what I just read here. There's a lot of there's a lot of delays, not just with flights, delays. A lot of people's computers crash. A lot of people's phones have issues. That's why they always say before retrograde, get everything tightened up and cleaned up, and it'll be a little bit more easier. But every retrograde that affects my computer, I will try my best to plan things ahead. And the thing that I want y'all to realize is I don't want to speak of retrograde as there's something to fear. It's just not to go against the universe. And I see what our Father was doing when he put that in place, that we can become too complacent and almost mechanical in the things that we are doing. So during the retrograde phase, like I said, wherever you got to go, leave a half an hour, even an hour if it takes that, early. And a few people have emailed me and told me that they glad that they took heed to what I said, because they had a very major appointment to go to, and they seen all kind of accidents, all type of delays, and even though they got caught up in it, they were able to get to where they had to get to on time. And so you prepare yourself in such a way is that you don't know what you're going to run into. Make sure you have a full tank of gas. Make sure your tires are right. Make sure you prepare. See, the better that you prepare, you are working in harmony with the universe, because some people got to do what they got to do. Now, they encourage people not to take long distance trips, but we have a life too. We have to live. You don't live in fear. And another thing I want to point out is that when retrograde is going about and you're out store or whatever, and it's a lot of people around, listen to what people are saying. Boy, my phone is messing up. I had problems with my computer. Oh, I had a big argument with someone. Or you might see someone in an argument. Or you hear somebody say, dang, the mailman haven't came. They never late. And that's been going on here in my house. All of a sudden, the mailman delivering mail, and it's dark, because, it gets dark faster. And usually that mailman come early. Those type of things you will notice. Okay, and then they said workplace tension. Yes, communication. Those things happen in broken house appliances. And I want people to share if they have experienced. Some people don't be affected at all by retrograde. But see, the thing is, the enemy wants you to fear this, but the people who never knew nothing about it, you lived through it, so why fear it? But there's ways that you can use it to work to your advantage. And so before I get a little bit deeper into Trump stuff, right here it says Mercury retrograde dues. Thoroughly review all contracts and legal documents before signing, or avoid altogether. Complete unfinished projects. Reread texts, emails, and work projects, and be very careful where you send information. You might be talking greasy about somebody and email the wrong person. Before sending and handing in, back up all your work twice. Take your car to the mechanic. Consciously pause before speaking. Do your own thinking. Forgive those who have put you have forgive those you have hurt in the past. Forgive yourself. Don't hastily signing important papers without thinking things through. Starting anything new, I cannot emphasize that. Don't start no new business. Call your ex. Buy electronical devices and gadgets. Jump to conclusions. This is a number one I've seen quite a bit during retrograde phase. Jump to conclusions or assumptions during a conversation. Feed into gossip and spread rumors or false information. That falls back into that communication. Slow down and do your own thinking. Think about the person that y'all have always had a good rapport, and this person has never wronged you. They can have a bad day. They can be feeling some kind of way. Don't put that on them. Give them their space. Now we're going to get into Trump. All right. So when Pluto meets Saturn, astrologers on how Trump impeachment could end explosively. So let me bust out the other computer. Not gonna read it all, and I don't believe it all, but it's fun. Watch Trump keep putting his foot up his ass and his mouth simultaneously. So it says here, despite Donald Trump's repeated attacks on the press, we know he's obsessed with reading news about himself. But does he check his horoscope? Astrologers tell the Daily Beast that if he does, he probably wouldn't like what he sees. To put it simply, according to New York expert, what's this? Angel idealism. Right now, he is so fucked. I wouldn't want to be on the other side of his birth chart pattern. She went on. Saturn and Pluto are conjoining. It's rare that they come, that they be together at the same time in shared degree, and they at the exact opposite to Trump's Saturn. So somebody is checking out Trump's chart. Pluto is basically destruction, and that's what they are reading in Trump's chart. Boiling ship up. Idealism said Pluto brings up the bowels of the earth and the come-ups of one old bad habits. You know, Trump can't help himself. So this person said, okay, they did what they did. They said that they had predicted, she said that she had predicted an impeachment inquiry back in 2017. Now, I just predicted that he was going to get the shit that he was in, it was going to come to a head. I didn't say impeachment. So let's see here. Mitch Lewis, who has studied astrology for over 3 decades, currently hosts a speaking. Okay, we're not interested in that. So Pluto, he says, represents the elimination of waste. America is going through a Pluto return, which means America needs to deal with a deep-rooted infection that has been in the political body. It's deeper than that. Our blood soaks in the soil of America, and the enemy flatly refuse to deal with their sins. ADOS. Let my people go. Cut the motherfucking check. Leave us totally alone. As we continue in my royal family. So he basically was saying that every planet has a return. And so they were just saying that when it comes to Pluto, it takes to revolve around the sun. Pluto takes 240 years and will complete around the late 2020 and early 2023, adding to the fury in conjunction between Saturn and Pluto, which occurs every 35 years. Saturn and Pluto have been playing tag for most of 2019, and it will come into the exact alignment in January 2020, just as the impeachment trial begins in the Senate. Deep. Astrologer author Alex Miller wrote in an email, at the same time, in late December, the president will be receiving an exact hit from a solar eclipse on his birth. This alignment can conceivably spell the end of his presidency. And I'm going to get deeper into that. Lewis agreed that January or perhaps early February now. Our next retrograde is in February. We'll begin some sort of resolution to the ongoing hearings. This energy will come to a head, and the end result will be a change in direction for America. Okay, they talking about Vietnam. Let me skip that. So then they say here, there will also be challenges ahead for Trump, especially near June 5th, as the lunar eclipse will fall on his moon at the 21st Sagittarius in the they say 21 in Sagittarius opposite his sun at 22 Gemini. I'm talking astrology, the people that know how to read charts, and I know there's many out there. I don't know how to read them. So it just means there will be some sort of explosive event that will remove Trump from office, Lewis said. It can be impeachment, conviction, a health issue, or somebody put, or a blue wave in 2020. So basically, they saying Trump could face times of great opposition And then they said, okay, we already read about the challenges and everything. Because remember when I was saying that, doing my research, that retrograde affects leadership. So let's see. Mercury retrograde, blamed by the likes, and for causing problem in communication, beginning on October 31st and ends November 20th. It's no surprise. Okay, here we go again. So they said, boy, these people think they're gods. So they said that it began October 31st and then it ends the 20th. No. We still seeing the effects of, and I said around about the 7th. I don't even quite know. I'm going to respect the universe. So as we continue on, my royal family. So this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio unveiled more underhanded dealings with Trump attempt to keep under wraps. Mercury retrogrades in Scorpio are notorious for revealing secrets. And anybody that's a Scorpion, you know what they mean with that. We harbor lots of secrets. I remember my mother used to say that to me. She said, you're very secretive. There's a lot of stuff going on with you. If you see me in person, I look very calm, but I'm going a mile a minute inside. I'm always thinking. The impeachment hearings have brought forth opinions from professional and armchair astrologers alike. But it is, of course, not the first time the pseudoscience has been used to analyze historical events. Okay, and they talk about other people. I don't want to get into that, the Reagans and all of that. I want to focus just merely on Trump, people that are relevant at this point, things that are affecting America. So they said Trump's they were saying Trump's surprise victory. They was talking about his surprise victory. And you see here, and basically how people would hold him up, but and it's happening now, but in the end, because it was heightened, but now the Trump family is slowly, but it's going to get bigger. There's going to be a big decline in how people disdain, and you're going to see it's an extreme. So people who's in his corner are extremists, and then when he has not fulfilled what he is supposed to fulfill, then a lot of those same people will get extreme in their disdain for the entire Trump family. All right. So, and we've been seeing bits and pieces that, Alania, she got booed. One of Trump's cross-eyed sons got heckled. And then his son is so damn dumb, he thought that he was sitting in a room with liberals. No, you were sitting with staunch, extreme Republicans. So damn dumb. So I just wanted to dibble and dabble in that just a little bit, my royal family. So now we're going to play the bonus video, and then I'm going to close it out real sweet. So let's take this down. And science must fall. The myth that science belongs to white people must. Okay, let's see what this video have to say. I like this video. Very, very, very good.
So can I respond to your submissions, because I wanted to directly respond. I was actually thinking about this coming here because I thought that it was going to be one of the coming questions. How do we even start to decolonize science? Because science is true because it is science, and what can you do? And my response to that was, if I personally were committed to enforcing decolonization, science as a whole is a product of Western modernity, and the whole thing should be scratched off, especially in Africa. So if you want practical solutions to how to decolonize science, we'd have to restart science from, an African perspective, from our perspective of how we've experienced science. For instance, I had a question for all the the science people is there's a place in KZN, in Kabiadingana, and they believe that through the magic, the black magic, you call it black magic, they call it witchcraft, others, that you are able to send a lightning to strike someone. So can you explain that scientifically? Because it is something that happens
I need to address you directly. When we started this, we agreed on certain house rules. And by you doing that, you're disrespecting the sacredness of the space. And so I'd like to ask you to first please apologize to the panel directly. And then number two, understand the rules that we went by in this space. Because it's going to be very combative. When we started, this is not an antagonizing space. And so what you're trying to do is collapse the space and make it antagonizing, which we will not allow. This is a progressive space for people to say their opinions. And we have noted how those opinions are going to be laid out. So I would like you to first apologize and then go on and agree to abiding by the rules of the space. Otherwise, I would, if you're not willing to do that, I'd please ask you to remove yourself from the space. But those are the rules of engagement of the space.
Okay, I'm very sorry to the panel.
Okay, and you agree to abide by the rules of the space. Thank you. Please carry on.
So I will finish. See, that very response is the reason why I am not in the science faculty. I did science throughout my high school years, and there was a lot of things that I just, but it's fine. But Western modernity is the direct antagonistic factor to decolonization, because Western knowledge is totalizing. It is saying that it was Newton and only Newton who knew or saw an apple falling, and then out of nowhere decided that gravity existed and created an equation, and that is it. For the whether people knew Newton or not, or whether whatever happens in Western Africa, Northern Africa, the thing is, the only way to explain gravity is through Newton, who sat under a tree and saw an apple fall. So Western modernity is the problem that decolonization directly deals with, to say that we are going to decolonize by having knowledge that is produced by us, that speaks to us, and that is able to accommodate knowledge from our perspective. So if you're saying that you disagree with her approach, it means that you are vested in the Western and Eurocentric way of understanding, which means you yourself still need to go back internally, decolonize your mind, come back and say, how can I relook at what I've been studying all these years? Because Western knowledge is very pathetic, to say the least. I, from a decolonized perspective, believe we can do more as knowledge producers, as people who are given the ability to reason or whatever is that people say we do when we think or rationalize. So decolonizing the science would mean doing away with it entirely and starting all over again to deal with how we respond to the environment and how we understand it. Thank you.
Okay.
Ouch! She slayed his ass. So, this article up here, because that's how I wanted to start it. And basically, this was a white woman that wrote it. And I'll just read a bit of it. I don't want to drag it on and on. When I was younger, I studied certain school subjects from American textbooks that were very good, but they tend to have a problem. They really like to only focus on talk about American and Americans, with particular focus on American accomplishments. It's not that they denied the accomplishments of our nations. They just didn't bother focusing on them much. If you didn't look to any other source of your information, you could be forgiven for believing Americans invented absolutely everything that ever existed, made every scientific discovery that ever mattered, and single-handedly won every war they ever fought in. At the time, because I was aware of the bias these textbooks carried, and because I resented the bias, I'm not American. Why do I have to only ever learn about Americans? I made a point of looking to other sources. As a result, I was pretty sure that I had a good, well-rounded view on history in the various roles and nations played. Until more recently, I began to discover other gaping holes in my education. Almost all of my history was focused on the accomplishments of the West, particularly Europe, and particularly focused on the accomplishments of white men. That was that white boy reacting in such a that way. He couldn't take it. There's this ideal out there that science is the invention and property of the white Western man. This is particularly because, partially because, particularly because Western education is in its bias just adores focusing on white men's accomplishments. It's not that it's outright denies the accomplishment of other people. It just doesn't tend to bother to focus on them much at all, really. And so you have this myth that science is Western, but not African. And you will wind up with this video on which a young student seems to claim that decolonizing science would mean getting rid of it completely. That ain't gonna help. That shit is in their DNA. The problem is that this ideal that science is Western and not African is in itself a result of colonized education. It's a result of consistently and repeatedly only ever being taught about the accomplishments of white Westerns, of discoveries made by white Westerners and inventions created by white Westerners, while glossing over African contributions to science over and over and over again. I think of these American textbooks and how much I hated always hearing about America this and America that. Yet we have a situation where Black Africans living in Africa consistently have to hear about the white West this, the white West that, while African accomplishments are downplayed and brushed over time and time again. If you are going to have decolonized education, maybe we should start by challenging the myth that science belongs to white people. Maybe we should make a special effort to focus on less known scientists who have been passed over because of their skin color. The student in the video mentioned witchcraft. I always loved the myth surrounding witches and witchcraft books that showed that the white West is just as capable of believing in non-scientific magic things as anyone else. It's not inherently that Westerns to reject attractive stories about magic in favor of more science explanations, and it is not inherently African to reject science. Both of these myths are, however, inherently colonial, and buying into them only reinforce the colonial world view. I had to read it all, my royal family, because when I started out my royal family, I was talking about that the enemy then stole stuff from us. You know, they copycatters. You know, they always propped up. They always got a crutch on them and everything, you know, and they think that they are the authority on retrograde. I often say, my royal family, don't take my word for anything. Study it yourself and then come back to the royal family and enlighten all of us. I will always remain a master student. Anyway, my royal family, I truly, truly respect everyone here, and thank you very much. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.